In a perfect world, we would all make decisions based on logic alone. But the science tells us that the majority of our buyers' choices are influenced by biases. These are automatic modes of thinking that we don't even realize that are controlling us. So, better understanding of these 8 cognitive biases will allow you and I, salespeople, to get into the heads of our buyers, subtly influence our leads. So if you want to close more deals easier than ever before, stay tuned. Hi, my name is Will and I make selling simple. Now today we're going to cover the 8 biggest, most powerful cognitive biases in sales. And to get started, let's look at what's called the anchoring bias. Now, when making decisions, humans rely more heavily on the first lot of information they receive over any subsequent information that they receive after that moment in time. The issue here is that the first lot of information that we get isn't always the most reliable. So let me give you an example. Let's say I'm selling a product and I tell you it's worth $20,000 a month. Then 2 days later, I come to you with a credible story about how I can now offer it to you at the low price of $10,000 a month. It seems like a complete bargain, right? And this is because your judgment on what pricing is fair is based on the initial information that you received. This is an example of how anchoring is used as a tool as influence. Many organizations, and you will come across this, sell their product by anchoring a fictitious price that the product never actually ever exists and sells at. Then they pitch a lower price after the fact to secure a deal. And this can also be used much more subtly as well. For example, if I ask you whether the tallest building on the planet was more or less than 1,000 feet high, I've already anchored that number in your brain, and this is going to skew your response to the question. So if you asked most people and they were to answer that question, they would give an answer between the ranges of 800 feet to about 1,300 feet, all because I mentioned 1,000 feet in my question. I skewed their response. And as it turns out, the world's tallest building is in Dubai, and it's over 2,700 feet tall, right? Incredible, amazing, right? So do you see how this works? And that leads us on to bias number 2, which is called the availability bias. The availability bias is when people overestimate the importance of the information that they've already accepted. And this causes them to ignore other information that might contradict what they think they already know. A good example here, and somewhat controversial example, is that a lot of people in the Western world consider terrorism to be a real, genuine threat to their safety. Why? Because terrorism is screamed in their faces all day long through newspapers, TV shows, and of course, YouTube videos as well. So most people assume the availability bias that you've got a real chance in your lifetime of being killed by terrorists and something needs to be done about it. Whereas the reality, when you look at the actual numbers and data on this, you're far more likely to die from a coconut falling on your head or being struck by lightning than by being attacked by a terrorist in a Western country. Yet, most people don't worry about these things, right? If you live in America, you are 130 times more likely to be killed by a police officer, the people who are there to keep you safe from things like terrorist attacks, than die directly from a terrorist attack itself. That's pretty crazy, right? Now, with all that said, this cognitive bias works because most people do not make decisions based on facts. They make decisions based on stories, because stories sink into our brains a lot easier than numbers and figures and data. And this is an essential cognitive bias to remember when you're selling. The lesson here is that you should blend facts about features and benefits with your customer success stories. That's going to leave an impression on your potential buyer's mind that's going to be very hard for their competitor to come along and change. Bias number 3 is the bandwagon bias. Now, people tend to believe what other people think. People like to be part of a crowd rather than nervously looking on as they make a decision that does not fall in line with everyone else. And in sales, you can really use this to your advantage if you either position yourself as the industry standard product or alternatively, the hot new startup or service that everyone is flocking towards. You're instantly given an incredible amount of credibility and, for want of a better word, hype. Look at it like this. If everyone is using your product, it must be the best, right? That's how your potential customer is going to see it anyway, all because of the bandwagon bias. And the bandwagon bias is especially devastating when you look at financial markets, when the world economy can technically be in recession for months or even years before the average Joe, normal investors, retail investors pays any attention to it. But when they see people starting to sell a few shares, when the media starts to pick up on it, other people start to sell their shares as well. And that causes a scare, the media start to ramp up their coverage, and eventually this leads to a full-blown market crash. And the people involved here aren't selling their stocks because they've analyzed the company and the market and their performance. They're doing it because everyone else is doing it. Everyone else is getting rid, so they're trying to get rid of them as well. That's the bandwagon bias in play. Bias number 4 is the decision bias. And this comes about because people tend to defend themselves once they've committed to a decision. This defensive stance is essential for sales professionals to understand, because if you annoy a potential customer and they say, I'm not going to do business with you, I'm not going to book this meeting, I'm not going to pay that price, then usually they're going to stick to their guns. And that means, for a lot of salespeople, whether you like it or not, you should probably move on. Or, better yet, don't annoy them in the first place. Don't instill this bias in them in the first place either. Another example of this is what people call fanboyism. You can see this with the nerds that love Apple products like MacBooks, iPhones, that kind of things. Feature-wise, these devices are not all that different to the competition. But even still, Apple fanboys will only buy Apple products. And even as the price of Apple iPhones, for example, go up and up and up, they will defend their purchase and they'll proclaim that they are far more differentiated from other devices, phones in the marketplace than what they actually, truly, technically are. Number 5, we have confirmation bias. Now, when people search for information, they usually only pay attention to content, training, facts, figures that confirms what they already believe. So if you were born into a religious household, you are far more likely to follow the religion of your parents. You're far more likely to watch YouTube content about that specific religion. You're more likely to have friends in that religious group, and so on and so on and so on. And the conclusion of this is that a lot of religious people on the planet didn't actually choose their religion at all. It was dumped onto them as a child. They never questioned it because adults told them as a child that this is the truth, this is what they should believe. And so they go the rest of their life believing in that specific siloed religion. And you tend to see this a lot with the world of health and fitness as well. So for example, let's say you enjoy drinking red wine. Well, your brain is going to pay a specific attention to any scientific publications that say red wine is good for you. But if you've got, say you grew up with an alcoholic dad and you think alcohol is bad because you've seen the results of this, you're naturally going to pay more attention to studies that showed links between alcohol and cancer. Both sets of data are there, but depending on your bias, you will lean into one or the other. So make sure that you're genuinely open to the opposite side of any discussions you get into with prospects. Otherwise, you might fall into this bias and force your buyers into it as well. Next up, we have the ostrich bias. And the ostrich bias is the subconscious bias that encourages you to ignore absolutely any negative information that comes your way. This goes beyond proactively looking at negative information by watching the news, for example. The ostrich bias goes even further. It causes you to become actually blind to any negative information that's staring you right in the face. An example of this could be when you know you're behind on your sales numbers, but you quote unquote, put your head in the sand like a cartoon ostrich, and you choose to ignore this fact. You continue procrastinating and you don't do anything about the issue until eventually it's then too late to make a difference. And this works for your buyers as well. They might know that there's a real problem on their hands, but if they just ignore it for a little bit, they put their head in the sand, so to speak, well, it doesn't give them any pain, doesn't give them any stress. And this is exactly why the bias exists. It relieves a little bit of pressure from our shoulders in the short term, but over the long term, this bias always makes things worse. Number 7 is the outcome bias. The outcome bias is the tendency for us to evaluate decisions based only on the results, even when those decisions were crappy ones in the first place. This is easiest to understand with an example. So let's say you are in massive credit card debt. Then you decide to take out an additional loan to buy a bunch of lottery tickets. Then by some, frankly, miracle, you manage to win the lottery. You pay off your debts. You've still got a little bit of money left over. The outcome bias would push you to believe that you made the right decision getting into debt and then leaning into the lottery to solve it. But the reality, of course, is this would be downright idiotic. You just got lucky here. And this happens a lot in business as well. Let's say a manager is making a purchase decision. His team and all the data tell him to buy product A, but for whatever reason, he goes with his gut, he fancies the salesperson that's selling him the product, he goes with product B instead. Let's say on this one occasion, product B actually worked out okay, even though all the data and the logic said that product A would have had the same or a better decision. The outcome bias will then push the manager who made this decision to go for B, B, B all day in the future. And guess what? They're going to make countless mistakes. They're going to go down completely the wrong pathway, and they're going to feel great about doing it, all because of that little bit of success that confirmed their hunch, their instinct, their gut feeling, the fact that they should buy from men or women that they fancy, whatever it is. And finally, we have bias number 8, and this is the survivorship bias. This final bias is when you judge something based on the surviving information rather than all of the information that you have access to. Let me give you an example. Right now you're watching this video and we're nearly at the end of it. So you're gonna have a different opinion on the content of this video versus someone who viewed the first 30 seconds who then clicked off because they were perhaps bored. So the person who clicked off consumed a little bit of content and has made a broad decision about perhaps what we do, our training, the further YouTube videos that we're going to produce. You've consumed a lot more content and so have a more accurate picture of what we do, our training, everything else that we put together over at salesman.org. But both of you think that you've got exactly the same context and you've got the right answer in your own head based on one person consuming a lot, one person consuming a little. And this is a real problem for salespeople selling to buyers, right? They might consume a white paper, a webinar, a YouTube video, speak to 57 salespeople, and actually have a relatively educated view on products in the marketplace that solve their problem. Or buyer number 2 might have just watched one video, saw an ad, clicked a white paper, only consumed 1% of the content of buyer A, but they will believe that they are fully informed, even though technically they're not. They will have the same level of belief. If you ask them a number out of 10, they'll both have a 9 or 10 out of 10 belief, even though they consumed massively different amount of content. Additionally, for me personally, this is a real problem in the sales training industry as well. You tend to get a lot of like middle-aged, angry dudes in suits that bang on about cold calling and other sales techniques that worked in the 90s, and they do this because those techniques worked back then. Those guys had some success with that, and so they started training others. They've now got this survivorship bias, and they're only going to focus on what worked for them, ignoring the fact that the marketplace has changed completely, and nobody answers cold calls anymore, and so it's just not as effective as what it once was. This is one of the reasons why over at salesman.org, our training platform includes an assessment that tells you specifically what training is going to work best for your personality type and your skill set. This is why we're the most effective program for ramping up and getting sales results fast, because it doesn't rely on the faultiness of survivorship bias from the salespeople and the training they've been through in the past, or the sales trainer, myself, and my survivorship bias of what I've been through and what's worked for me previously as well. So unfortunately for us salespeople, sales isn't always about rationality and return on investment, the numbers and the data. Most buyers are influenced by these 8 cognitive biases: the anchoring bias, the availability bias, the bandwagon bias, the decision bias, confirmation bias, ostrich bias, the outcome bias, and of course the survivorship bias as well. So the better you understand these different biases, the better you're going to be to cater your conversations, your case studies, your customer testimonials to your buyers, and you're going to be closing way more deals easier than ever before. So there we go. If you enjoyed this video, why not click the video that's on the screen right now and continue making selling simple.